What's up guys, and welcome back to Just in Time. By the way, if you guys just saw Gary V's recent video, he used a banana peel. This is what I used for my photo stand, so can be done anywhere. So I've been back from Turkey for about 3 days now, so I think you can see these horrible eye bags. Yeah, I haven't been really sleeping that well, but I just finished watching this movie on Netflix. I don't have Netflix, but I found a way to watch stuff on Netflix. I just watched a movie with Rebecca. It's called Booksmart, and it really got me thinking about my high school life and basically my high school life. I think it really portrayed how high school students are it was a very American setting, so they did portray how American high schools work and how they have the nerds and the super hot people and there's people that are just batshit crazy. But I really like their approach on it and how they really just told the story, because I feel it was a very different approach and I really appreciated that. But it got me thinking about how I was in high school, and I was actually not allowed to graduate from high school, so I wasn't allowed to attend my own graduation ceremony, but that's a sob story for another video. It mainly got me thinking about how our high school education systems are. So if you were ever in a Chinese school or a public school, then you'll really understand what I'm about to say. Not from international schools, all those are for overseas, but JK, I'm kidding. Not really. Jokes. Just a little bit. So what it got me thinking about was how teachers and words actually affect us. Because I also just read the book by Mitch Albom called Tuesdays with Maury. I actually was reading it while I was in Turkey, and it was so touching for me, especially because teachers, they do play quite a big role in our high school lives. In schooling lives, I think that teachers still play a role, but unfortunately there are not that many great teachers around. Honestly, there are not that many great teachers around. And teachers and words, they do impact us in a very special way, and they have a really big impact on us, which is why I've always wanted to be doing these videos, to be talking to people, to be counseling people. All of these allow me the opportunity to use my words to impact people in a positive way, or even maybe fix something that's broken in you, or just give you an encouraging word. So I will tell you 2 different stories about 2 different types of teachers that I had when I was in my high school, and you guys can see the differences. Up until Form 5, I was an okay student. In Form 5, all the crazy shit happened to me. I had 小过大过, I kena 藤鞭, all this. I'm not gonna translate that, forget it. So in my Form 5, a lot of crazy stuff happened, and I'll leave those type of stories for another video. So mainly what happened was in my Form 4, I was in rewind. I was from Penang. So in Penang, that's the best Chinese all-boy high school, and my Chinese is not that great. If you've ever spoken with me, I can just survive, I can get through a conversation well, but written and all this白话文, 文言文, 名句精华, all this, I'm not really good at it. And that was very evident. So in my Form 4, that is the upper secondary. So Form 1, 2, 3 is kind of lower secondary. Form 4, Form 5 is upper secondary. So I had this Chinese teacher, and in Form 4, that's right after PMR, I had dropped to the lowest class. So this is again a hierarchy in our school. In my school, it was a really big school, so there are actually 14 classes in every single form, and each class averages about 30 to 40 students. So in an entire form, there will be give or take about 500 plus students in a single form. And of these 14 classes, 12 classes are science classes, 12. And then there's 1 IT class and there's 1 perdagangan class. So needless to say, if you're in the IT or perdagangan class, you are at the bottom of the food chain in my school. In my school's eyes, those people are beta and you cannot study. And even in the science stream classes, there are those type of hierarchies and separations we need. There's the first 5 A science classes, and then there's 4 B science classes, and there's 3 C science classes. So if you drop to the C classes, again, you're the bottom of the food chain. If you're in an A class, a lot of things you can get away with. And then if you're in the C class, most stuff is going to be blamed on you. And the discipline teachers, they basically just give all the C class students a hard time. So again, I won't go into the ecosystem of how shitty our education system is, another video. But basically, I wanted you to understand this so that this part of the story makes sense. So in Form 4, after my PMR, and by the way, PMR I scored, I only studied for about a week, for PMR. Yeah, I'm that kind of student one. I don't really study much and then I score. I studied for about a week and then I score about like, I also don't know how many already, but like basically I score everything A but Chinese. But my school doesn't take the PMR. My school takes our own PMR type of grading system and they will give us our own examination. So in our PMR examinations, I failed everything but like 2 subjects, which is math and English. So obviously I dropped to the last class, which is the C class for science stream. So when I was there, I was in Form 4, like I said, and I had this Chinese teacher. What was her name? I think it's Su Zhi'en or some shit lah. But basically, she was crazy. So this particular Chinese teacher was, I mean, she was known for being super strict and super old school and just like nobody likes her and I think she has no friends, she's gonna die alone, all this kind of stuff. But she was really strict and she was especially strict on me because my Chinese was really poor. So there was one time I will never ever forget. She called me to the front of the class and she was just shitting on me, she was scolding me and she said certain things that that was the period right before recess. I still remember very vividly. And she told me that you're such a disgrace to Chinese people, you're such a disgrace to your ancestors, you're such a disgrace to your parents because you cannot speak Chinese well. And if you cannot speak Chinese well, you should just drop out of this school. You should just not call yourself a Chinese because your Chinese is so poor. So I took it over and over again, and I've had other teachers tell me such things before, but that was in front of like the whole class. I remember, like I said, it was the period right before recess. So after recess, I just broke down. I was crying in front of my friend, and I was just like, is that really me? Is that really who I am or not? Like, just because I cannot speak Chinese, is that where my worth is? That I'm a disgrace to my family, I'm a disgrace to so many different people just because I cannot speak Chinese? Like, I was thinking my Chinese, I mean, I can speak it, and I can speak English well. I mean, you know, we're Malaysians, we can speak 2 languages well, it's not that bad. I mean, I'm not gonna like run for like the president of China. I don't need to have a president. That was my thought process at the time because I was really hurting. And a teacher, you're supposed to educate me. Like, a teacher have never gone to that extent of shitting on me before. And basically, yeah, you know, I took a really bad hit, and people wonder why I have like insecurity issues and why I don't think my work is good. So basically, I moved on to Form 5. And when I was in Form 5, I already went into the Chinese class with the mentality of, you know what, screw this teacher. I don't need to pass this particular subject. I don't need to pass it with flying colors. Whatever you're going to say to me will not be worse than what Form 4 said to me. So I went in with already like not so good approach to whatever the teacher is going to be. But this teacher was nothing but nice. She was such a sweetheart. And what's her name? Yeah, her name was Hong Wai Ling. Yeah, her name was Hong Wai Ling. So I'll try and find like her blog if I can, and then maybe I'll put a link somewhere. You guys can go check it out. Maybe you can find my face. And she was really encouraging to me. Now, how was because that she was super down to earth. She already was very outspoken about how she disagreed with the discipline system and how she disagreed with how the school was run. And I really just respected her for that because she was part of the discipline teachers. Like there's like a board of them, and so she was one of the discipline teachers, but she was super duper nice. And the way that she won't really like punish you, actually, like, come to think of it, but she had her ways of getting discipline across. So with me, it was pretty evident like from day one that I'm a joker and like I like to mess around lah. And so she would actually mess around back with me, she would joke with me, she would talk with me. When we had like our first couple of exams, I love to write. I love to write. And every time there's an exam with a writing part, my eyes light up because I love to express myself in that particular way. So with Chinese, I always did the same. I always expressed myself very well in my 作文, but the problem is that my vocabulary is very limited. So sometimes I would not be able to express myself in certain words. I had to make the 作文very lengthy because there are certain words I just don't know how to write and I don't know how to write that word. So I had to like write many sentences just to convey a couple words worth of meaning. So she saw that and she actually called that out on me. She said, you are a creative person and your writing is good. I had never had a Chinese teacher tell me that my Chinese writing is good. She said it's so creative, it's so flowery, but I know, and she would just like circle certain words and circle certain sentences, and she says, I know what you're trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. I know what you mean by that, but your vocabulary is weak. She was super courteous, she was super graceful, but she was yet truthful, like straight to the point with me. So she said, keep up your Chinese writing, make sure that it's always this expressive. And then she would make sure, and she told me something that I really, again, I respect about this lady. She told me, your Chinese is weak and Chinese is not your strongest subject. You're not gonna score for this, like right in my face. But she, like right to my face, she said that. But she also told me I just want you to pass. I don't need you to score an A. As long as you do not fail this in your SPM, then that's fine with me. It means that we have both succeeded as educator and student. And I was like, holy shit, that's super real, because that's all I care about. I don't really care about the subject. As long as I don't fail, I'm good. So she would tell me certain parts, like, okay, this is easy to score points. All you need to do is memorize this, memorize that, do this, do that, and then this will have enough points for you to pass this exam. She was strict with me in that respect. So when I was slacking in the work that she knew that I could, she would beat me up about it. But when I was, not scoring in other things, she was like, forget it. You don't need this in your life. So that's what I so respected. And she writes a Chinese blog, and she actually wrote a blog about me, which I read. Not that easy for me to read, but I read through it, and I was just so touched by this teacher. How on earth was this particular teacher? Right in Form 4, I had a teacher telling me that I was useless and I was a disgrace for my Chinese being bad. And then right the next year, I had a teacher telling me and calling out the things that were strong in me. And that's actually why I went on in my foundation. I continued to write, because she actually told me that my writing is good in Chinese. She told my Chinese writing is good. My English teacher bloody won't tell me that. She really just touched me. I do see her every so often when I go back to Penang. But that is what I wanted to show you guys, like the difference. They're both teaching me the same subject. They're both a year apart, and it's the same me. The Chinese level is exactly the same, but the words that they use to tell me and what they spoke over me and over my life really changed things for me. Do you guys have a teacher like that? Do you have a shitty teacher that you remember, and do you have a really good teacher that you remember? Let me know, because I'm so curious about this. This is why I do what I do. I want to impact people with my words. I want my words to be encouraging. And like previously, when I was writing blogs in my foundation up until about year 1, year 2, it was called Encourage to Empower, because that's always what I want to do. I want to empower people with positive words, with information and knowledge. Especially even now that I've studied psychology, I want to use that knowledge to empower people to make better decisions, or even to understand more about themselves. So let me know about what you think about words, and if you had a crazy ass teacher. That's it for now. If you like this video, like it, share it with somebody that you know has had a pretty bad or a pretty good experience with the teacher, or someone that you know who has a teacher that made an impact in their life. That's it for now. See you next time, guys.